Welcome, everyone, to the Build, Grow, Repeat podcast. Today, I'm here with Alexa, founder of REGULIGHT and a longtime member of the Vibe Coding Cologne community. I'm so glad to have you. And we're going to rant today on, among other things, why it's so fucking hard for companies right now, especially in regulated environments like Germany, to not implement AI with almost brakes on. Yeah, they seem to be struggling so much, and I'm curious, you're so passionate about this, building a whole product around this. Why you think that is, and tell us everything we need to know about yourself.
Thank you very much, Ben, for the invitation. I'm so happy to be in your podcast.
Of course. What do you do?
So what my project is about, REGULIGHT, I was working in big corporates before, and then I realized that there are so many people who have innovative idea to do something with data, to do something with AI, but then there are some naysayers, let's say someone from compliance regulations or other businesses who say, you cannot do this because there's some regulation that says you cannot.
That's so tough in Germany. I work with bigger companies and it's what the hell are they doing? Isn't the job of compliance to enable the company? Was I thinking years ago as a naive founder, and then they're constantly in your way instead of enabling you. How do we deal with this?
Well, there are some of the legals who are really trying to enable the company, but most of the times it's not they're not in the discipline to try out things. They are educated to think about what can go wrong.
Okay.
So what's important to go into a dialogue and educate also about the technical background. So this AI thing, what is it really about? So what is AI? What is an agent? What does it really do? And that's coming together.
In concrete terms, what are they so worried about? What are the worries in general pre-regulation, and what are now the big bullet point demands of regulation? As an example, here in Germany or the EU.
Well, we have this regulation AI Act, and it's a pretty new regulation, and this is why everyone is always a little insecure what the practical implications are. So what you're going to do if you want to use AI as a company, then first you have to assess what kind of risk is behind this AI. And for most of the use cases, it's not very critical.
Yeah.
So there are high risk AI when you have full automation about, for example, handing in something to your health insurance and it is processed 100% automatically. Or if you want to have a credit and then there's also only just an AI agent that decides, can you get a credit or not? And so this is for a good reason that this is under very high regulation. But most of the other AI use cases is just that you have to have some cornerstones about the usage of AI. So as a company, according to the AI Act, you're allowed to use it.
Okay, so I learned about that when I was building an HR funnel tool with scoring, etc., and I had long discussions with Claude about implications with EU AI Act, and to me it explained it this way: if there is going to be no human in the loop in the decision making of who's getting hired, this is going to be high risk. And you're going to be in this high risk category. But if you frame it in a way that the AI is supporting the process and giving the human the information on which the human makes the decision, this is low risk. Does this roughly cover it?
Yes, roughly. So we had an example. If you have several CVs and you upload it in ChatGPT and say, make a scoring about who would fit best to the open position, then this is going to be a high-risk case. And in that use case, ChatGPT would be a high-risk AI.
Yeah.
So this is also human in the process, but it would also, even if it's not fully automated process, it would also be a high-risk case.
But my feeling was coming out of this that if you don't go completely nuts, 9 out of 10 cases can be rather categorized as low risk, and not.
Roughly,
It's
you
more
could
like the
say
except
so.
are high
Well,
risks, right?
I was working together with the legals too much, so the
Yeah.
only answer could be it depends.
Sure.
This is learned.
What I also learned from, like, we went through this whole shit with GDPR a couple of years ago, right? And the perfect, only really useful answer or frame I got from legal people at Osborne Clark, actually in a big case, was the phrasing: is this a manageable risk for us to do certain practices and declare it as low risk? There is some risk where somebody could justify, okay, now this is high risk, you need to be way more compliant, regulated, blah, blah, blah. But as a company, as an entrepreneur, I can make a judgment call and say, this is a manageable risk. And I can get this answer that this is a manageable risk from my legal people. Would you agree that
Definitely. It's always a risk-based approach, as you said.
Yeah.
So it's not a yes or no, we can do it or we can do it not, but we can do it with what type of risk, and the higher the risk, the more management you need behind that.
Okay. So I'm building this new app called Customer Magic. It's helping users like score their opportunities better and have a more agentic sales assisted workflow. And I make the judgment call to say, like, okay, I think this is low risk and I do my best to do it. It's low risk. And I think most companies, most startups can categorize themselves as low risk, except when they are not. Assuming that, what are the demands on us? What should we be worried about with the EU AI Act and the use of AI?
Well, it's always easy what you have to handle. First thing is you have to ensure that people in your company are educated with AI. So in the last years, there was a huge new business coming out of AI trainings, but there are no cornerstones from regulations how this AI literacy would look like. So a lot of legal companies were providing then AI literacy trainings, and was kind of boring. So people were taught about the risk levels of AI. I don't know if this was bringing the business of these companies so much forward.
Yeah.
AI literacy could also mean that, okay, there's what types of AI are there and what might go wrong. And then we're talking of risk and how could I use it correctly.
Okay, so training. We had the same with GDPR. Maybe we can do that comparison. And companies So Safe that from Cologne that really big on that business, and they can do it again with AI bubble. Okay, what's next?
Definitely. So this is the baseline that every company that uses AI needs to have, and this is what's the one big part in the regulations is AI literacy for all risk categories.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it? No documentation requirements like GDPR?
Well, so they're not sure about how it would be handled, but if someone will come and make an audit, then it would be good that you have any evidence that each person in your company who uses AI had a training and what was the content of the training. So it's always good to write something down, and this is also something that our solution REGULIGHT is helping the people, because it's not that complicated. It's just that, okay, Ben Sufjani and Alexa Scheffler were taking place at the training on August 2026, and it was about that curriculum. Write it down, and then you're safe. It's not that difficult.
Okay, could you, we know this is not a product pitch, but just give people an idea what REGULIGHT is doing. What are the core benefits and for whom is it? Just so we have the context for the rest of the talk.
Yes, amazing. So it would also help you to follow more my personal founder story as well. So out of this pain that I had, I just wanted to build cool AI solutions. And in corporates, there was always the step until talking to compliance, and there were a lot of helpful people, of course, there, but they had their rules and they had their complicated questionnaires. And this is why I said, why do I have to fill out this complicated questionnaire? I want to make it easier. I'm used to chat with something, and then the chat is asking me what is needed. So I was starting to build our own compliance chat agent, where anyone who has no idea about technical stuff or legal stuff can use it and is sure now, can I use the AI or not? And what are the measures to take to use it?
Yeah. Awesome. And who do you target, like, with this? What type of businesses?
So it's for medium to corporate size and almost for every industry, because these are the questions everyone who wants to use AI in the corporate is using. So it's a B2B solution.
How do I visualize this? Is it like a ChatGPT version of X? Or am I just chatting? Is it more of a Notion documentation thing? What am I experiencing in it?
So it has two parts. It has the chat agent, that's the beginning, and it's trained only to ask you the questions that it really needs to get rid of the pain of the long questionnaires.
Yeah.
And then comes the other part. What do I do now? This is what all the business users asked. So it's helping them to organize their workflow, to be ready if any audit comes, and then just can put it out of their pocket and say, here, you have the evidences.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And that's so helpful. So I know you studied computer science in the olden days, and but you have not worked as a developer, right? Maybe you can give us that background story and what actually enabled you to start building such a technical product.
So in my studies in computer science, I always loved software development, but I always went into the direction of being a business analyst or an architect. So I was not the best coder because I was too slow. I remember that the other students, they were twice as fast as me coding because I always had to look up what kind of method am I using now. And since I was always good with communications, I started to go to the management track very quickly. And then I was working together with the coders, but I did not had any hands-on coding experience for almost a decade.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. And so you didn't have the coding experience, but how did you enable yourself? Like, really, what was the experience? Did you go to events? Did you watch YouTube videos? Which podcasts influenced you? Did you just ask Claude or Chat to learn to code? Or did you bring somebody on board to help you with that?
Well, when I had this crazy idea of becoming a founder, that was back in 2024, I started asking ChatGPT about giving me code snippets, and then I copy-pasted it into my IDE. And since from my computer science background, I was always okay with reading code. But then there was the problem that ChatGPT only know these part of sources of the code snippets that I had. And then when I realized in 2025 the term vibe coding, this is also where I met Pirate Skills. And so I remember going to my first vibe coding event, Cologne, and it was completely like a whole new experience for me for, oh my God, I can do things. And it's not that I have to wait for this magical technical co-founder to make my ideas happen, but I can do it on my own. And then I also participated in the Growth Forge, where you were giving these step-by-step introductions that really helped me a lot, because sometimes I need someone to take me by the hand and say, okay, don't worry, you're doing this step. And when your coding agent is doing something completely crazy, keep calm, keep coding, and you will come to a solution.
I think that's the main thing about the Forge right now. This accountability. All of the things that we offer at Pirate Skills is how much hand-holding do you want? You don't want hand-holding? Take the codex. Just stand alone. We call it now the Pirate Codex. In your time, it was the Builder and the Growth Codex. And then we merged that together into the Pirate Codex. And then next level was, okay, I just want to watch videos and do it on my own. The next level is join the workshops. And you were in one of the very first pilot projects when I built live the signal log with everyone. Do you remember that one?
Yes, definitely.
The signal log.dev. It's still live. It's still live. A lot has happened since then, but I want to just double tap on when did you move to vibe coding and how does your vibe coding setup look then and now, once you progress beyond copy pasting from ChatGPT into an yet unnamed IDE?
Yes. So the beginning was with the cursor setup and the cursor built in AI, getting to the pro version that was enough for me. It was pretty hard to get the setup in the beginning. And this is what I always realize when someone is starting with vibe coding, that you get all the accounts that you need for a cursor, IDE or whatever, getting it connected to GitHub. And this was also a huge step. And I remembered I was using IDEs before and I was using version control this decade before, but at least it was not new to me. But I spent hours going back and forth with the cursor to set it up. So this was the beginner setup. And I guess the coding agent changed so much since then. So that was just felt like kindergarten for what we have now.
Isn't it such a crazy progression that the cursor still was a VS Code fork and Claude was mostly a plugin in either in the terminal or in VS Code? That has evolved so much. I also remember that my main thing was cursor in the beginning, and I still think it's an amazing product. It's just the subsidization of Codex and Claude Code is so ridiculous that I always say, I cannot afford cursor. Even if they give me twice the credits, they don't give me 40x the credits that Claude does. I'm looking at my Codex bar, which is a tool you can install that kind of reads the sessions that have been running on your computer, on Claude and Codex. I'm mostly using Claude on the $90 subscription. I even share it with Christina, so not all of the usage is actually on this computer. And just on this computer, without any cloud usage, I've spent €5,055.06 in the last 30 days, if I had to pay retail API prices.
Wow.
Isn't that just today? And I'm doing a podcast and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I've spent $119.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's a lot.
We have progressed so much since then. The market has shifted so much. So I'm curious, what does today's setup look like?
Well, I went away from cursor. It has several reasons. First thing is that it always wants to get me in this agent UI, and I hate it. The second one, that is a political reason, that it was taking over from an Elon Musk company.
I remember you're not an Elon fan.
No,
I remember.
Who is it in these days?
I am.
And so I went back. It was just a fork of Visual Studio, and I was coding with Visual Studio Code before. So I went back to this. Most of the times I'm in the terminal now. Okay. I'm on a Windows computer, but I will change this because I realized that it's always more difficult for programming on a Windows machine. I tried out installing a virtual Linux machine, and this is what is my current coding setup. Yeah. But there are always problems about talking from Linux to Windows. So I'm thinking about switching to Mac in the next month now. And the newest innovations from Claude Code, which is my main coding agent, I get in the terminal. Sometimes it's more convenient to use the Anthropic app, also when I want to work more with cowork. But for coding, the place to be is the terminal.
That's interesting. So I had my terminal phase, but I still strongly remained like a non-technical founder type, even though I got very technical in the weeds. And even your co-founder, Andy, literally told me, Ben, you're not allowed to say anymore that you're non-technical, or you're at least not the usual non-technical type. But I always felt the terminal is for the people who have terminal nostalgia, like for the developers who kind of get a vibe out of that and it makes them happy to work in there. But normal people, non-developers, they don't have this terminal nostalgia. So the Claude desktop app 100% became my home base. And I sometimes open the terminal to connect an MCP server that is just unwilling to connect to the desktop app. But that's it. And I'm so happy with it to get this more visual feedback from everything. Uh, and have this preview browser and managing 100 agents on the left-hand side, like your hated agent manager in Cursor. That's become my thing. So are you a multi-panel terminal person, or are you like, how do you manage multitasking, essentially?
Well, there is this new version, or it's already 1 or 2 months old, that you can have an overview of all your running agents in Claude Code. It's called Claude Agents. So you have the overview of your last sessions, and it's quite a good session manager. I'm just thinking about why developers love the terminal.
It's
And
nostalgia.
maybe one
I
thing
swear to God.
is the nostalgia, and maybe the other thing is that they're just too lazy to switch their hands from the keyboard to the mouse and back to the keyboard. So why doing this kind of exercise of moving your hand?
As Claude, you would say, you are absolutely right. But I think another reason might be that it used to be the way that all new features were launched in terminal. You were always with the desktop app, you were like weeks behind with it or with the plugins, and the terminal was just the most up-to-date thing. Now this switches. Did you see, like a couple of days ago, they finally integrated Claude Design with Claude Code?
Oh, no, I haven't seen it yet, because we had our first experiences with Claude Design, where we wanted to build a design system from our existing website. And so it took me quite a lot of tokens to let Claude run over our website, but the result was not usable, what was coming out. So I'm still hoping that they will keep improving the Claude Design feature. I wasn't happy with it.
And it used to live like only in the web version, Claude.ai/design, and you can only use it there. Now you can use the /design skill in the desktop app, but not in the terminal. Once again, a sign that the desktop app is not behind anymore, behind the terminal. And it's not available in terminal. And it literally opens a side pane where you can ask like, hey, can you give me 3 different design versions of this landing page or of this UI element? And you can choose and click on it and give feedback and make comments on it. And it will be implemented in your code base directly without like a step in between Claude Design and your Claude code base. Very interesting move.
I love the functionality, but the thing is, it takes a lot of time to set it up because this automatic just use this already existing design system did not work. Maybe give it another try next month. Yeah. Let's see. They're continuously improving. I still believe in you and Traffic. You're going to do it.
Let's go. Yeah, they're making strong moves now already. Try the /design skin in the Claude desktop app. Next thing. How do you handle, and this is what moved me out of the terminal, how do you handle non-product development work? How do you handle all of the growth stuff, company organization? What is your workflow for that these days? Because I insisted on doing all of my workflows through Claude, but you do simply do it through the terminal and are fine with that, or what else?
I tried several things. I found out that with Claude Cowork, it is better for everything that is about concepts, because I guess Claude Code has another type of harness that is more specialized for coding. And if you want to make strategy or marketing, Claude Cowork is better. We now moved to OpenAI because I'm not the biggest fan of the current model Opus 5 in doing any concepts or from how it's writing emails or marketing messages. It does not feel very personal compared to when you're going to a classroom. And Traffic Claude is the mathematics nerd, I would say. And OpenAI is someone who's a generalist, who is good at everything. He is good with people, is good with the other classmates, so also has kind of empathetic. And then sometimes I use Google Gemini, who is like the young content creator influencer who is very good with doing the more emotional stuff. So I always ask myself, if I go to the classroom, which one of my classmates do I ask for help? Doing my homework in mathematics or coding, of course, I go to my mate Claude. And if I have some general something, I go to OpenAI. And for these very emotional things, I also go then I go to Gemini.
interesting that you switch. And I also observed this, that if at the moment, thankfully, we really have at least two things to quickly change between. I can open Codex, work on my project. I can work Claude Desktop, Claude Code, and work on my project. No big difference right there, except for my taste in which model do I like better for which task. And I'm glad we have this freedom, and I like that competitive pressure, which definitely also helps me with the subsidization, because I'm not paying $5,000 for AI a month. I'm not in that position. So I guess you're using the Chat GPT desktop app, opening the Codex in the top left, or switching to Cowork there, correct?
Yes.
We were talking before the podcast about you getting some input from the Growth Forge on storytelling for REGULIGHT. To me, this requires some type of knowledge management in a place where I can store these stories and positioning frameworks, etc. How do you do this exactly?
So at REGULIGHT, we have Obsidian Vault that is synced in the cloud on European servers. And this is where we store all our concepts. Big learning here was over there. If someone is having a one-to-one conversation and you have some handoff or not ready to share content, it's important to keep it in your personal Obsidian vault, because otherwise the shared vault is spammed with some half-ready draft versions.
Yep.
So this is where we store our concepts, and we were starting to have our folder of our whole growth strategy, and now we're working with the diamond you're presenting in the growth codex, and getting step by step through it. And we had 2 sessions. It took hours, but these are important sessions for our team. So in the first sessions, we were just discussing about how to fill out the certain steps of the growth codex. First step was creating the overall objectives and OKRs. But in the second session, we realized, no, we do not want to have it on our own. We want to have AI as our moderator of the whole thing and as the
100%.
host. And so we were starting with Codex. So this was one of our first experiences switching from Cowork to Codex, because I said, I do not trust Anthropic on marketing and storytelling. It's the mathematics nerd. So switching to Codex, and it took some time for Codex to learn about us. It was Andy who was in the driver's seat. So it was his installation of Codex, and then we realized our Codex does not know our company as well as Anthropic did. So it took us some time to teach about what we're doing, but it went better and better. And what I really liked is that I just handed over the URL and said, okay, we're doing this workshop, and now get through it step by step using your question answer tool. This in Anthropic is better because Claude has this question, multiple choice, fill out what do you want to do next. And with Codex, it wasn't available yet. So it was just on a textual base, but it's okay. So you have to type in A, B, or C. That was also okay.
That's fine. Okay. And please clarify this, how does your Codex and or Cowork interface with the self-hosted Obsidian Vault? For everyone who doesn't know, Obsidian, it's a knowledge management system similar to Notion that you can self-host.
So what's behind Obsidian is that you have markdown files. This is a very easy version of getting some structure and formats to your documents. And Obsidian is just a tool that is very, very good in reading out these markdown files. It's a very more open version as OneNote. Some of you might know OneNote.
Yeah.
It's much better. And it's just some files that are locally mirrored on our computers, on our notebooks. And then it's mirrored into the Obsidian cloud. It's $4 a month if you take the yearly subscription. So something really, really, really affordable. And you just point Codex, Claude, or whatever to this folder on your local computer. And then it knows everything about your company, because it can read out all the other files that you have done before. The learning is sometimes there are deprecated or canceled concepts, and you have to clean up, and you have to use some structure about giving dates and authors and versions. Otherwise, it's just a lot of AI crap. We could be better with this. Still on the learning journey.
We're all on this learning journey. And I know Andy, and maybe we just call him, it's Andreas Spannagel, called Andy. That is a great member also of the community and what my personal go-to for knowledge management. So maybe we do a follow-up podcast on that topic, but that was very interesting to me to hear, like, you have it mirrored on your computer, which allows the agent just to grab everything from here, have the benefits of not having to call the MCP server on Notion. And the sync engine gets rid of all of the Git hustle that you would otherwise have to have with knowledge management in your code base, which I do 90% of my knowledge management straight in the docs in my code base and my skills files, which has advantages, but definitely also has disadvantages.
Well, if I would recommend how to start with AI to someone, this is the way I would recommend everyone to start with organizing your life with AI. Having this markdown file directory somewhere, you could use Obsidian, but also others, and then connect your cowork, OpenAI or whatever. I mean, this is the way to start so you can see what AI can do from you. And from this to try out more complicated things. Would you agree?
I would agree, because it turns out that, again, roughly 80-90% of the work outside of building the product lives in markdown files and a couple of handcrafted tools you build for yourself to manage your work better. But it's mostly knowledge, tacit knowledge that lived in your brain that you need to get your agent to interview and extract out of you into something. And it can happen that you have some deprecated versions of your models, but then you can simply say, dude, that is out of date. Update yourself. This is the current state of the art. Here's a reference. Please update yourself. And it's done. And everyone in the company, in the team now has this updated model, right?
Definitely. And when we're talking about how to enable corporates, this is something that's a very cheap solution, but I do not see that any corporates are working with this kind of mechanisms. Maybe this could be another solution for the Growth Forge.
I actually started that recently, literally in OneNote, in Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, in OneNote, and there is a lot of access management, because by default OneNote is read-only. And it cannot write. And the main benefit is not from reading. It's from self-organization of your whole beast. They are getting there. And I think it's one of the realistic ways for bigger companies to get there. Copilot is also introducing something called notebooks, because they realize it reminds me very much of a notebook LM from Google, that OneNote is not the one for the agent to process, but it's the one for the people already, especially for the well-organized people. So you hooked up also with other people to make your idea come to life. And this is what I found interesting, because I'm very fascinated by what I call small but mighty teams. That is the 1 to 5 people category. And I think there's a big difference between 1 versus 2 to 5, because as soon as you're not solo anymore, you have to work very differently. So what was your journey and your decision-making process as a founder? Do I want to have people on board? How do I get them committed? How do I work with them? Get us up to scratch with that.
Well, when I was starting having this crazy idea of becoming a founder, moving away from the safe and well-paid corporate jobs, I was just me on my own, because most of my bubble, there were these other people in their well-paid and safe corporate jobs.
Yep.
So I was the only crazy one.
Thank God.
But I was so dedicated to do it. I said, okay, no matter what potential investors might say, as you all might know, investors do not like solopreneurs. They say, okay, teams are way more successful. But anyway, I said, okay, I will keep on going, but I'm also better a team player than a solo player. So one of my objectives for the year 2025 was finding someone to work with. So I was participating in a startup program, and there were other
Which,
founders who had the
which one?
same challenges as I had. Being a
Which program?
solopreneur sucks.
Okay.
And then I realized that if you're having an idea, then you're one step before a lot of other people who are interested in founding, but they do not have an idea. And so I was just starting about my first idea was, okay, from the beginning, I have to make everything very transparent and fair. When we're really founding a legal entity together, from the first day on, we have to be very specific about what that might look like. But my journey was that you might find some people who are accompanying a little bit of the way and who are having other objectives during the way then, and just be bold and ask someone, hey, I have this project idea. Do you like to work together? I do not earn money with the project at the moment, so I cannot pay anything, but I can give you fun, experience, and learnings. And so there are a lot of other crazy people out there who are happy to join. I realized Andreas, because I was meeting him on a lot of events, for example, like on the Vibe Coding Cologne events, other events at Startplatz Cologne, which is a great place to meet other people. And I thought, okay, this is quite a cool guy, and he's so much into all this AI stuff, but he's not only a nerd who is into technical things, but he has this entrepreneurial mindset. And so I was asking him, hey, I have this crazy idea. I don't know where it might go to. Do you like to join? And Andy loves to build things, so he was in it. And he has built an amazing infrastructure for us. So I'm quite confident that we can go to market with this solution.
Okay. So I don't have this need to find like this co-founder like you, but you had it. And their humans are simply different. I'm just happy now that I found Christina, like my fiance. So I don't feel the loneliness thing at all because we are around each other 24/7. And thank God, like I love it. I used to be more of a loner, just doing it all alone. And now I have her and I'm so glad. So I rarely look for this co-founder thing. And I'm glad that you have found Andy. Is there another topic you would like to cover before I do some final quick questions?
As you have heard, that I'm very interested that as a country in Germany, we move forward using AI. And what I realized, what is important for everyone to learn about how to use AI. You might call it AI literacy or whatever. And what I see is falling behind is that at most of the events I go with, like vibe coding or anything like AI engineering something, sometimes I'm the only woman in the room. So what I really want to encourage other female founders, but also all the other women out there, not only talking about AI or listening to podcasts, of course, podcasts like this, it's also good education. To move forward in your AI journey, you have to go to the keyboard. So every minute on the keyboard gives you AI literacy and moving forward.
Okay, so what are your 1, 2, 3 steps today after you listen to this to move into a higher level of AI literacy from where you currently are?
You mean for the recommendation for listeners to move forward for the journey?
Yeah. To your female co-founders that you wish would move to the keyboard and do what? Get which subscription? Do what project? Like, how do they get this experience?
So you need at least one pro subscription for any intelligent model. May it be OpenAI or Claude, something like this. Now you've heard what to use. I think this is very good invested money. It's 20 euros a month, but it's very, very well invested money.
Yep.
With the free tier, you do not get that far. And having a fun product to start with, building a website for something. So this is something that you can vibe code very easily. It does not have to be a full software as a service solution, but to have your own website online. Just play around a little. This is
Yep.
an amazing start.
Okay, thanks for that recommendation. I hope everyone finally does that. I think lots of people have a ChatGPT account. They now have 1 billion users monthly active. I would like to know what the percentage here in our hood is, or in our audience. Are you on a pro subscription versus a free one? But I'm always surprised when I ask around at the Vibe Coding Cologne events, for who is this like the beginning of the journey? And like a third raises their hands. And I'm like, holy shit, I misjudged. What I also misjudged is that people come to the events to meet community, to find other people who are the crazy ones, or like to do this together with. Very hard for me as a loner to understand, but seems to be very helpful. And you are also going to join us next Wednesday on September 2nd and do like a practical laptop open. This is how I got into REGULIGHT, and this is the behind the scenes look, while this was the long form rant of that in some way. I'm very glad to see that. And it's important, like, to activate people, which is also one of the reasons why I'm currently obsessing about, if I had an hour with people, what would I show them? What is the exact steps I would take them through to remain approachable while blowing their fucking minds and shooting that needle into their arm where they are like, I do not want to go on without. That is what my thinking is. And I actually do the first of these events that I'm going to repeat, and every time I try to make it better. So I need your feedback on this later. I call it the AI Compass. And right now, I'm taking them through the Claude desktop app. Essentially, what is awesome with chat? How can you progress to co-work by treating it as a coworker that does your work for you? And then moving to code, where you can now become a builder yourself. While every step above feels more like a user, code feels like, you can become a builder and build your own processes. And it's not that complicated. You just speak. And I love the idea of focusing on building a landing page. I'll do that with them tomorrow. If you're interested, AI Compass on the pirateskills.com events page. Not you, but the people who want to get activated. I'm very, very curious what this perfect experience is. Any pointers?
Well, when I learned coding by hand in university, the most satisfying projects were these very UI-driven projects, where you do something and you see, okay, now the button turns from yellow to green. Maybe it could also be something like with the Claude design thing, because there you also have this experience about how to move something, some visual. This could also be something.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of quick questions. What are currently your most important resources to stay up to date without going insane?
Well, there is a huge WhatsApp group from Pirate Skills, where there's very, very good content in it. So there are so many exciting new messages popping out that I cannot read it every day. I was starting an AI agent that is doing a summary every week for me. But I first, when I have time, I look in there. And then for the techies in this group, I realized what kind of sources are they using, and most of them are on X. Although I'm not the biggest fan of the Elon universe, I have to admit that the best coders are on X. And every time I open X, I find something amazing and very, very fresh news about innovations coming up.
Who are the top 1-2 people that come to mind that you should follow on X for that?
Enrique Carthy and Pollock, but I forgot the first name.
Matt.
You know? Matt Pollock, that's someone. And there are so many who are
There are so
also,
many, but this is a good
yeah.
start. Thank you. Any YouTube channels that you look at regularly?
Nah, I'm not the vlogging
Okay.
type of girl.
All right.
No.
I watch Theo, yeah, for example, for input, and AI Jason, if you guys are interested. Amazing. How do you want people to get in touch with you? Do you have any call to actions to make? Companies that want to use Regulight, here's your chance to shell a bit.
So if you're interested about our founder story, I try to share my personal founder story, but as well about how can corporates use AI without having a bad conscience that there are any regulations behind. Can follow me on LinkedIn. So there are more Alexa Schefflers on LinkedIn. Thank God I have gone through the madness of PhD. So I'm Dr. Alexa Scheffler, and this is the only one you can find on LinkedIn. So you can follow me over there. I try to keep you updated about these topics, and so you can also contact me over this channel. And we're planning to relaunch our homepage, regulight.io. So there, if you're interested in the product, you can find it over there.
Regulight.io. Yeah, that's what I wanted to look up. So regu and then light, like the light, and then .io. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing and also being on board with us next week again. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.